And then obviously the same question I'm asking everyone else here. After you were researching this, what can you admit that you're guilty to? Because
well, I admit, I'm a freshman here at college. I don't really, I can't really call myself an adult quite yet, but I am a child who is completely addicted to their phones. Like, I just cannot stop thinking about what is happening around me, what is happening outside my world, and I just want to make sure that I'm in touch. But after doing this research, I realized that it's becoming a danger to me, and I've realized that if I become less addicted to my phone, I'll have a better life with everybody that's around me.
So obviously, you're going to look at your phone for social media, that's a given, but also you have news feeds on there too. So the majority of the news that you guys get, would you say is from your cell phone? How much compared to like actually being on a computer and like looking at the internet? Like, would you say more on your cell phone or more on a computer?
Computer.
Okay, a little bit both. I heard more cell phone. We'll roll with that. Aaron's actually going to talk about social media and the news. Just basically exactly what I said. Like, you guys know that you're looking at your phone as soon as you get up, before you go to bed, and you're going to get all this information fed to you. So Aaron's going to cover more about that.
Hey guys. So worldwide, there are about 1 billion members on Facebook. And at any given day, half of those members are checking it and are on it. So we're talking about like 500 million people on Facebook every single day. 47% of the entire adult population in the US checks at least one social media site. So we've got Instagram, Twitter, all those things. So half of all adults are checking at least one of those things. And that's not just like checking and looking, but that's spending quite a bit of time on it usually. Because we all know that it's kind of a domino effect. When you check one thing and then it links to a share, and then 45 minutes later, 3 hours later, you're Facebook stalking somebody you went to middle school with, right?
Catfishing.
And if this was all positive, if we weren't seeing any negative effects from so much social media and news addiction on our phones, then it wouldn't be a big deal, but we obviously are seeing a lot of negative effects that we talk about. And so it's sort of, I think about it, it's sort of like the fact that we have these smartphones now, you have complete access, unadulterated access all day long. So it's like if you have junk food at home versus in your pocket. If it's only at home, then you're only gonna eat your junk food at home. If your online abilities are only at home, you're only gonna be online at home. But now we have, it's like junk food in our pockets. It's these cell phones are in our pockets, and so we're checking them every day. We're eating a Skittle every 2 seconds or whatever. And so the same thing goes with, junk food. If you're eating it all the time, you're becoming more addicted. The negative effects that junk food has on us are happening more the more you eat it. Same thing with cell phones. The more we're on them, the more we're checking social media, the more we're letting that inform our entire view of the world, the more we're seeing some of the negative effects of this phenomenon. UCLA found a study that when we are going to check, or when we're going to take a break, when we are in school or work and we feel that that drain and we need a mental break, that what our brains are really asking for is social interaction. So it's really easy to see how having a phone addiction, having a social media addiction, and needing these breaks and feeling a need for social interaction leads us straight to our phones. But what happens is we don't get the same effects, we don't get the same benefits from a social interaction on our phone, because oftentimes it's not an interaction, it's just looking at something that somebody wrote. It's not like an actual interaction. And so you end up spending a lot more time there than you would be spending if you just needed to have a quick conversation with someone to kind of like debrief your mind and then go back to what you're doing. So you're wasting a lot of your time. And we're having this whole new obsession. We all know, what was the word of 2015 or whatever, selfie, or 2014,
Sure, let's go with that.
The word, okay, so selfies. That's a whole other issue that I'm gonna go into. There was an 18-year-old girl in Russia who climbed on top of a train, and the electric field around the train, it was a parked train, the electric field around the train, she was electrocuted to death trying to take a selfie. She had a friend with her who got injured but wasn't murdered, wasn't killed, and she was there to let all of us know exactly what that other girl was doing, and it was just strictly, this is going to be a great selfie. And so obviously it wasn't. There's also a young man in England who became so addicted to taking photos of himself. And it stems more than just taking photos of yourself. It's, you take a photo of yourself and you don't like it, and then you take another one and you don't like it, and then you think, wow, do I really look like that? And then you're taking, this guy was taking 200 plus photos a day, not going to school, freaking out because his mind was telling him, you're so ugly. So he's thinking, you know, all these people are looking at me when I go out in the world, and this is what they're saying. It made him withdraw from all of his relationships. He ended up being institutionalized. He had to drop out of school. And that's like maybe one extreme example that we're seeing in the news. But I think that it's not as extreme as we would like to believe. I think we can all either say we know someone or even ourselves that has sort of an issue with that it feeds on our narcissism and it feeds on our insecurities. And yeah. So, well, yeah, go.
So, aside from like the social media, like think about like all the news that we get too. Like, do you think the news that we're getting from our phone is accurate and credible? Because think about it, like we're just flipping through and it's just like they time it to where you know you're only gonna be looking at it for 15 seconds.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting thing that's going on right now. So when we had newspapers and magazines, people would sell subscriptions. You were actually paying for the periodical. They could sell ad space. When it comes to the internet, they're having a lot of trouble. All of these news sources are having a lot of trouble making money because people don't click on banner ads, right? Like not intentionally. You might like accidentally click and you're like, oh, poop, you know, trying to get off of it. And so what they're doing now is something called native advertising, or it's also called branded content or sponsored content. And basically it looks exactly like an article. So you're reading this article about, you know, somebody clothing the homeless, and you think you're getting this really good news from the New York Times or the Washington Post, a really credible you know, website, a really credible journalistic site. And then, you know, it looks, everything about it, the font, everything, the pictures, everything looks just like a normal article, but it might be an ad for Tide because there might be a line in there somewhere that says, you know, and then we had to wash all this clothes that was being donated, and it was washed, you know, in Tide detergent, and it came out cleaner than anything had ever come out before. And you know, that might be a really benign example, but there's also really dangerous examples like Chevron, you know, paying for ads and making everybody think that what they're doing in the golf course is good, you know. And so we've got a lot of information that's coming at us that's just not credible, and we're not checking, nobody's checking sources. We're reading one thing and then it links us to another piece of information, we're reading that, and $50 billion was spent on this in the past like 3 years. Like in 2015, $11 billion. That's marketers paying periodicals to put this branded content in. So it's obviously, if they're spending that much money, it's obviously getting them a lot of money back, which means that it's a lot of mind control that's happening on our end. We're reading things and we don't realize that we're being sold. We're being sold. So basically you're spending your time thinking that you're reading news, and you're actually spending your time feeding yourself camouflage commercials. So something to think about.
So same question that I asked everybody too, like after you're looking at this research, what have you like found yourself being guilty of for cell phone addiction?
For me, in the cell phone addiction, I feel like it's a little bit of, like I have spent a lot of time detached from my phone, and I always find that when I come back into using it, that there were like events that I didn't know about, because people don't take the time to call you anymore. They just post an event on Facebook, and so it's like it's not that I have a fear of missing out so much as you worry for your own relationships, that like, you know, are they going to think that I didn't want to come to their birthday party, or you know, like so many people's memories and experiences are happening outside of yourself, and so then that means that you go on, and so then I go on to try and make sure that I'm a little bit informed, and then 3 hours later I've spent the only free time that I have, and I just feel brain dead, and you know, it's like you can't win, it's a double-edged sword.
Before we take questions real fast, I just had like this video I wanted to show everyone. You may have seen it probably about last year. It's kind of like hypocritical of me saying I saw it on my phone, but that's where I did find it, and afterwards, I don't know. If you guys have seen it, great. Those of you that haven't, it definitely struck a chord with all of us when I actually found it and showed everyone in the group. They're like, we need to show that. We need to show that. So,
I have 422 friends, yet I'm lonely. I speak to all of them every day, yet none of them really know me. their eyes or at a name on a screen. I took a step back and opened my eyes. I looked around and realised that this media we call social is anything but when we open our computers and it's our doors we shut. All this technology we have is just an illusion. Community, companionship, a sense of inclusion. Yet when you step away from this device of delusion, you awaken to see a world of confusion. A world where we're slaves to the technology we mastered, where information gets sold by some rich, greedy bastard. A world of self-interest, self-image, self-promotion, where we all share our best bits but leave out the emotion. We're at our most happy with an experience we share. But is it the same if no one is there? Be there for your friends, and they'll be there too, but no one will be if a group message will do. We edit and exaggerate, crave adulation. We pretend not to notice the social isolation. We put our words into order until our lives are glistening. We don't even know if anyone is listening. Being alone isn't the problem, let me just emphasise. If you read a book, paint a picture, or do some exercise, you're being productive and present, not reserved and recluse. You're being awake and attentive and putting your time to good use. So when you're in public and you start to feel alone, put your hands behind your head, step away from the phone. You don't need to stare at your menu or rate your contact list. Just talk to one another, learn to coexist. I can't stand to hear the silence of a busy commuter train where no one wants to talk through the fear of looking insane. We're becoming unsocial. It no longer satisfies to engage with one another and look into someone's eyes. We're surrounded by children who, since they were born, have watched us living like robots and think it's the norm. It's not very likely you'll make world's greatest dad if you can't entertain a child without using an iPad. When I was a child, I'd never be home. Be out with my friends on our bikes we would roam. I'd wear holes in my trainers and graze up my knees. Build our own clubhouse high up in the trees. Now the park's so quiet it gives me a chill. See no children outside and the swings hanging still. There's no skipping, no hopscotch, no church and no steeple. We're a generation of idiots, smartphones and dumb people. So look up from your phone, shut down the display. Take in your surroundings, make the most of today. Just one real connection is all it can take to show you the difference that being there can make. Be there in the moment that she gives you the look that you remember forever as when love overtook. The time she first holds your hand or first kiss your lips. The time you first disagree and still love her to bits. The time you don't have to tell hundreds of what you've just done because you want to share this moment with just this one. The time you sell your computer so you can buy a ring for the girl of your dreams who is now the real thing. The time you want to start a family and the moment when you first hold your little girl and get to fall in love again. The time she keeps you up at night and all you want is rest. The time you wipe away the tears as your baby flees the nest. The time your baby girl returns with a boy for you to hold. And the time he calls you granddad and makes you feel real old. The time you take all you've made just by giving life attention. And how you're glad you didn't waste it by looking down at some invention. The time you hold your wife's hand, sit down beside her bed. You tell her that you love her, lay a kiss upon her head. She then whispers to you quietly as her heart gives a final beat that she's lucky she got stopped by that lost boy in the street. But none of these times ever happened. You never had any of this. When you're too busy looking down, you don't see the chances you miss. So look up from your phone, shut down those displays. We have a finite existence, a set number of days. Don't waste your life getting caught in the net, as when the end comes, nothing's worse than regret. I'm guilty too of being part of this machine, this digital world we are heard but not seen, where we type as we talk and we read as we chat, where we spend hours together without making eye contact. So don't give in to a life where you follow the hype. Give people you love, don't give them you like. Disconnect from the need to be heard and defined. Go out into the world, leave distractions behind. Look up from your phone, shut down that display. Stop watching this video, live life the real way.
Jason, any questions?
Yeah, this episode of South Park came out last week about talking about